increase in cancer and birth defects in communities near the test site. Gorbachev's policy of glasnost allowed the people to speak out for the first time.
During the last explosion at the test site, a dangerous amount of radioactive gas was released into the atmosphere. We now know for the first time that these ventings have taken place for 27 years.
Since birth, my son has had very soft bones. He cannot speak, for he has no tongue. I believe this was caused by the testing. We hope that you will join your actions with our movement to end nuclear testing all over the world.
Today, we're afraid to drink the water, to eat the food, to bring up our children. In despair, we appeal to the leaders of the two great countries to turn over the last page of history, the history of wars and the nuclear arms race, and to begin writing a new chapter of peace and trust. The time has come to reach for a ban on nuclear testing and to remove the threat of exterminating all life on Earth.
After 40 years of silence, the people of Kazakhstan began to rise up in angry protest. This movement to halt nuclear testing in Kazakhstan found a dynamic leader in Oljas Suleimanov, a writer and member of the Supreme Soviet. Inspired by hundreds of letters from downwinders, he issued a dramatic televised call to action in February of 1989.
We have been silent for a long time, and our first call was heard and people gathered here. I believe we must now organize ourselves into a movement, the most peaceful and the most international movement in the world. We call this movement Nevada with the hope that our counterparts in the US state of Nevada, who oppose the American test site, will consider us their comrades in misfortune.
The symbol for their movement depicts a Kazakh and a Western Shoshone, native peoples whose land was used for the superpowers' major test sites.
Our anti-nuclear movement is really a people's movement. We feel liberated after a long oppression, and all of our people are participating in this movement.
The citizens of Kazakhstan had transformed their pain and their fear into very effective and positive political action. But being there made me realize that this really is a global experience now, that it's not just the United States or the Soviet Union, that nuclear war is a threat to the entire globe, and preparing for nuclear war is a threat to the entire globe.
Within months of the Chernobyl disaster, Mikhail Gorbachev announced a moratorium on Soviet nuclear testing and invited the United States to reciprocate. But the Reagan administration refused to stop testing.
At the present time, we feel that it is vital to the credibility and the reliability of our nuclear deterrent that we maintain the ability to test the weapons on which we rely.
Most of our tests have been to perfect new generations of nuclear weapons. And as I say, they have no military purpose today. The time has passed when any modernization program made any sense.
The time has come to stop these nuclear weapons now, before they proliferate to very dangerous, volatile regions of the Earth. For example, between Pakistan and India, perhaps a nuclear war may erupt between these two countries as they slug it out over Kashmir. Not to mention the instability in the Middle East if various nations begin to reach for the atomic bomb.
We have situations in which the risk of nuclear war is graver than it ever was between the United States and the Soviet Union. And we aren't trying to deal with that problem. Instead of that, we're blindly going ahead saying we have to continue testing. We have to develop more and better nuclear weapons.
The Non-Proliferation Treaty, signed by 141 countries, obligates the United States to pursue nuclear disarmament and to end all testing of nuclear weapons. This treaty, which expires in 1995, may not be renewed if a comprehensive test ban is not achieved.
There are untold dangers in the proliferation of the atomic bomb. That's why the Non-Proliferation Treaty of 1995 must be maintained, and the key to that is, again, the cutting off of nuclear testing.
So what we have to do is take seriously our commitments to put an end to the nuclear arms race and to seek an end to testing of nuclear weapons for all time.
When the U.S. refused to follow the Soviet moratorium, the USSR resumed testing. But the grassroots opposition in Kazakhstan was growing.
Нашему движению всего 1 год.
The Nevada Semipalatinsk movement is only 1 year old, but during this year, we managed to stop 11 nuclear tests out of 18 planned. For the first time, the Soviet Union has taken 3rd place behind France in the number of tests. At the present time, nuclear tests are stopped. For 40 years, the Soviet government has waged a secret nuclear war, killing our own people. That is why we demand that the test site be closed, unconditionally and immediately.
Yesterday, our parliament made a resolution which permanently bans all testing at the Semipalatinsk test site. This is a great achievement for our movement.
To celebrate their success in shutting down the major Soviet test site, the Nevada Semipalatinsk movement hosted the first International Citizens Congress for a nuclear test ban. Downwinders from the world's major test sites met there for the first time.
Every day there was an event that was just so incredible. A woman from Alma Ata came up and stood by me and had tears rolling down her face, and she grabbed my hand and just squeezed my hand, and I thought, you know, here we are, worlds apart. I've spent my lifetime thinking they were the enemy. They were, you know, someone to guard against, to not be trusted. And here we were, mothers, you know, holding hands.
We are now having the opportunity to meet one another as downwinders. A family from Utah has enormous sympathy, affection, allegiance with families from Kazakhstan, from families in Tahiti, from families all over the world. We literally are bound by the wind, which to me has everything to do with bound by the spirit.
The fall of the Berlin Wall, combined with the success of the Downwinders movement in Kazakhstan, inspired opponents of nuclear testing around the world. At the Nevada test site, Kazakh downwinders joined their American counterparts.
Here at the American nuclear test site, I cannot separate the tears of American mothers from those of Kazakh mothers. For me, it's the same, because radiation does not choose. To dry those mothers' tears, all downwinders must stand together in the global effort to stop nuclear testing. We stopped our test site. You can do it too.
It's truly become a citizen effort, a global citizen diplomacy effort. It's a very exciting thing. These new connections are what keeps us going, what keeps us alive, and what convinces me that ultimately the people will succeed where the governments have not.
We identify very, very closely with all peoples that have been affected by nuclear testing, regardless where they're at in the world. And we know the, the feelings that they have, what they have suffered, And we have made a lot of friends among downwinders in Utah, from across the water in various places. And it's been a common bond that has brought us together.
We only got one planet. We only got one water. We only got one air. All this is you and I and everybody together. We have to put a stop to what's going to kill us all off in time. We got to work together in order for us to be one people. We are concerned people today with the other groups on the other side of the big lake. We're together. I hope we can stay together, unite together, and put a stop to this nuclear testing over the world.